Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first Ask Me Anything event in this new series. This is not a product update or a technical deep dive, and it definitely won't be a token discussion. Today will be all about context, who we are and why we've chosen to work together, and what motivates this collaboration across such different industries. The goal for this AMA will be orientation and not conclusions. We want to create a shared understanding of where we're coming from before we talk about where we're going. My name is Zoe. I'll be the moderator today. A quick word about my role before we get started. I'm not a blockchain or crypto expert in any way, and I won't be here to debate technical details or push any particular viewpoint. My job will be to keep the conversation structured, make clear transitions, and ensure that everyone, including myself, hopefully will leave this session a little bit smarter than when we started. You will notice that this is not a live open mic session. The questions that we'll address today were collected from users in advance. This will hopefully help us keep the conversation focused and make sure that we do justice to the key themes that came up amongst our community. So to set the stage, let's start with the people behind this work and how their perspectives fit together. Pierre, let's start with you. Could you share a bit about your background before joining SPO and maybe talk about how your experience in media, licensing, and asset workflows shapes your approach here?
Yeah, of course. Hi, my name is Pierre. I hope you have enough time to listen to this because it's quite the story, but I'll try to keep it brief. So from the current perspective, I'd say that I took the rather unusual approach. I studied music and then coincidentally started a company doing music and sound effects and implementation for games. And from then on, over time, we grew to become a global leader in that market, doing a lot of different games all over the world. For myself, eventually I noticed that I'm not really the best composer or sound designer in the world. So I left that field, to other people joining our company. And I merged more to the business side because I have a knack on the business side. So, I like doing networking, finding new clients, thinking about new business connections. And this is what I did over the past, I would say, 25 years. And when we did all this, we started this company becoming, people who are really super professional in what they do, doing AAA games. We noticed that there's a lot of stuff missing for our work. In the audio space, it's a bit special that everything was focused on the film industry by that time. So the games were kind of trying to mimic what films did. But if you're doing games, you need more different, I would say, sources and different tools and data to be able to make the games sound really good. And because there was nothing like this around, we eventually started to create our own product lines, recording our own data sets, building our own tool sets, also merging into the tech space. And this is kind of what we have been focusing on over the past 15 to 20 years then. And in a way, this has been our driving force. We build stuff that we need ourselves because if we needed it, then others need it as well. And this has proven to be pretty successful. So in the meantime, the whole product and software services and tools, a portion of our business is about 85% and not the original services anymore. And this is where I am today, basically leading this company that has grown to about 100 people, still, being on the service side, doing all these games and also films and trailers and so forth, and automotive and industry. So, it's kind of very broad and very international. But the main driving force is not the services anymore. It's mainly the tech stack and creating original content. And doing the services helps us to keep aligned with what the industry really wants. And this is basically the story. I would say we merged from a service company into a more tech-driven service and framework content company.
Thank you. And Marten and Stefan, I'd love to hear how your roles and focus have evolved over time. Maybe things that surprised you along the way.
Yeah, thanks, Zoe, and thanks, Pierre, for that great intro. First of all, obviously, I'm still Marten, co-founder and CEO of Unibright, with a strong computer science background. And I just wanted to remind everyone where we're coming from. We've been building great blockchain-based infrastructure since 2018, long before AI or ESG or all this regulatory demands became everyday topics. And I guess over the last 8 years, we shipped real products and supported enterprise customers in production environment and proved that blockchain infrastructure can operate reliably at scale. And it's really great to have Pierre and Audiogroup closely connected to Unibright now, because seeing the whole story of you evolving to a global, let's say, B2B licensing powerhouse with 100+ professionals is just great, with all the customers you have in tech and entertainment and automotive. And I wanted to give a bigger context and remind everyone that Unibright itself is now part of SPO. So we're embedded in an enterprise organization that has a track record of delivering mission-critical ERP systems since 1989, which is quite a long period. And this brings in delivery discipline and legal structure. That's great. The very important point I want to make and add to the picture is that now, after all these years, we have a much clearer regulatory and legal framework in place. So everything around AI and digital content, sustainability, ESG is now clearly regulated, and it's shaping how businesses must operate, take responsibility, document value and proof. Just think about the European AI Act, for example, or ideas like Green Steel. And giving all of this coming together now, I guess we are in a very unique spot of building not just the product, but looking at infrastructure for real world execution, about regulatory compliance, and all of this working in a UBT token based coherent system. That's something I'm very excited about thinking and talking about starting from today.
Yeah, if I may add, perhaps I'm still Stefan, the CTO of Unibright, co-founder, and in the new SPO environment, which is actually not that new, because those who are with Unibright or have been following the story of Unibright for some years now know that Unibright in the initial stage was a spin-off of the SPO Consulting company, because back then it was not clear how the legal and regulatory framework around tokens, not only blockchain as a technology, but also about coin offerings and everything worked. So Unibright was a spin-off back then. And in the last 2 years, we merged Unibright back into SPO Consulting, which is a consulting company that acts on a way broader audience than only blockchain. And my work especially was focused on building technology where blockchain can play a vital role, but is not necessarily the main pitch point for a potential customer, because the environment and also the understanding of blockchain evolved a little bit in the last years. I think we've been very successful with Unibright when it comes to the POC world and the innovation layer of also bigger companies where we did great projects. But of course, it's also part of the truth that blockchain as a technology still struggles with adoption on a level where you can instantly tell a company you will save 50% of your costs by using this technology. So it's always about a technology stack and always about using blockchain at the right spot of a technology stack. And that's why we gained very good experience in the last 2 years with doing a little bit more the classic IT stuff with SPO Consulting, but then finding the spots where blockchain makes sense. And this was also the case in talks and also in projects we did together in the Audiogroup context. So it was quite a logical step for us to bring these things together. As Pierre mentioned, it's always good to build stuff where you know you can use it on your own company, because then you have a proof that it actually works, and it's a different thing than just pitching a solution that you never used yourself. So I think we're at a very good spot now, having all that tech stack that has been developed over the last years within Unibright, the consulting experience, and also the network that is within SPO Consulting. and the client and tech network that Pierre and the Audiogroup brings into the new SPO Consulting.
And just to add to this, I think this is the most important or perhaps even crucial point, is that the connection between the somewhat virtual world of blockchain, the whole ecosystem is kind of set apart from the real world to a certain extent. And connecting this is the biggest challenge. And we as a company saw that we see solutions with what SPO Consulting has, solutions that we needed, and that then joining forces was kind of a natural move. So it's not about, yeah, we have to do something with blockchain because it's hyped. It's, oh no, we have wouldn't say a problem, but we have things here in our company that could go better, or where we could achieve much better growth if only we had a solution that is very close to what Unibright SPO has developed over the past years. And kind of coincidentally, we discovered this in our discussions with Stefan and Marten, and that is why we think that the combination between our real world challenges and the tech stack that is already there, that only needs to be adapted a bit, is super helpful.
Thank you so much for those introductions. So I think we've covered roughly the quote unquote why behind the recent integration. And I'd love to look at sort of the most discussed topics, mainly the role of the UBT token in this setup and what its future looks like in practical terms. So could you maybe tell me why the UBT token is still an essential part of the new SPO Unibright model?
I think in general, it's really important to understand that our vision or idea is not to build some centralized software that is controlled and owned by one entity. I think the real magic in using a utility token is to build something much bigger, where you can integrate more players in one ecosystem, where they can all work together and be incentivized the right way. I mean, everyone knows how great Bitcoin works and the Ethereum ecosystem, and those systems work because they are bigger as themselves, so to say. They are not a centralized thing. They have incentivizes right because of the token. They penalize faulty behavior, but also they incentivize correct behavior. There are no wrong blocks on the Bitcoin blockchain. So you can build great things by using a token correctly. And I think that is something we have done now in the products we delivered during the last 8 years. And we want to keep building on that, because this is what makes us different and opens great potential.
Yeah, in terms of the token itself, I think it has been very clear from the very beginning that we launched a utility token back then. And that's still the main thing, how we see UBT as a utility to use our services. In the meantime, something very great happened, I think, compared to other ecosystems that are somehow trying to do the same, because we're an established token, a token that's very well distributed all over the world, thousands of token holders. So it's not a centralized thing, not only from technology side, but also it's not centralized at all from token holder perspective, which gives a very good ground for building upon that. And it doesn't matter so much about the technology or the product itself. I mean, we had some different projects or products already. Some of them were merged, for example, in Unibright 1. Many of them will be used and also be merged into the current and future products we are working on. But the idea of UBT is, and always will be to have the utility to use our services and to make that technology step into some new technology layer like blockchain easier and seamless.
So you're talking about utility. What does expanded utility really mean for UBT? Could you give maybe some concrete examples of new use cases that are realistic within the SPO enterprise environment?
It's like building a system where you get more players contributing to the system. So think about validators we incentivize by the token to do work for the system, or have like an open source community mind of developers building new things because they are incentivized by the token as well, because they want to empower the ecosystem. This is something we are wanting to build, because, as I said, I guess that's what gives us a great chance at the moment to build something bigger than just one containered product or software that we deliver.
And perhaps I can chime in again for some sort of a real life guinea pig kind of example in our group. So, well, of course, we do audio, so we create a lot of digital content, but we also distribute a lot of digital content, not only our own, but from suppliers all over the world. And to scale this, let's say we have more than 1,000 different suppliers that we manage, like digital rights administration. And more often than not, we have the problem that people are uploading or giving stuff to us for distribution that is not really theirs. And there's all sorts of problems with that. So there's sometimes people do it, not on purpose. Sometimes people do it on purpose. So that's really fraudulent use. But if you look at things like YouTube Content ID or even Spotify, people upload stuff that is not theirs. And if you connect these digital assets deliveries to a validation system that is transparent, all of a sudden you can get to a solution where, through the power of the community, I would say, you get a very fast and good way to find out which things are correct and which not. Because somebody who, let's say, uploads stuff that is stolen will very quickly get bad ratings and therefore not be able to use the system anymore. So we will integrate such a system in our internal usage because we have exactly these issues, which doesn't mean that it will directly be adapted by all the other, I don't know, music publishers or music labels in the world. But basically, if it works, of course, we have a direct positive impact, and we have a solution for a real problem we have been working against for like 20 years. And on the other hand, once we have that, we can of course present it to other people, to other companies and clients, and show them that it works and that it helps put transparency into copyright issues, provenance, chains of rights, and all these typical things.
And perhaps just from a more technical perspective, I think what you said is really great, because it reminded me of when you're using a token, then you can come up with these totally automated business processes, because the token can just be part of the process that is running. You can use a token to create a digital license, or you can use the UBT token to incentivize behavior or contributions, and you can do this fully automated. Code can get lost, so to say, and you can take the human out of the loop, and there you can decrease the chance of faulty behavior by automating things and become systems that can run on a much larger scale.
You said earlier that UBT can be used but doesn't have to be used. Why make that distinction, and in what scenarios might UBT intentionally not be required?
I think if this question was posed in the community, I guess it refers very much to the latest developments of Unibright, around Unibright 1, a platform where we can put proofs on different blockchains, so blockchain agnostic at that point, not only using base ledger as a tech stack, but also other stacks. And there we made the clear experience that on a first customer approach, it doesn't always help if you directly sell a solution with an accompanying token. So that was the time where we thought about different payment models. But the important thing is, in the end, when it comes to a distributed network or decentralized digital reality, it's always our token that's used. And there may be translation from fiat money or other digital payment services into that token to make it easier for the customer. And I think this is still a valid exercise, so to say, that we have to approach, although a lot of things happened when it comes to crypto being integrated into payment processes. But for that part, we can assure that the services we build, they are built around UBT, and the possibilities to get into that ecosystem should be as broad as possible to bring more clients and more networks into UBT as well.
I guess that's the right explanation. I mean, when we began, holding tokens was something very new for the business partners we had, for enterprise customers, and that changed during the last years. And moving forward, I guess, looking at all this real world tokenization happening and all these great things in the crypto and blockchain space, I think holding and transferring and working with tokens is something even companies are being used to do now.
Although if I look at it from a, I would say, sales perspective, like developing clients and bringing new tech to clients, I think there is still some sort of a hurdle to get into that whole ecosystem. And I think I mentioned in the beginning, the whole blockchain crypto thing is its own ecosystem, which has problems to kind of merge into the real life or the real business outside this crypto ecosystem. And I think that it's a much easier sell to simply have great technology and great solutions, and then underneath this whole tech, you have a blockchain system that is being used and you have the tokens. But if you jump to a big company and tell them, hey, we have this great blockchain crypto solution for you, there's still some sort of an image problem, I would say. And we definitely want to avoid that because we are not building this whole thing for the sake of using blockchain. It's just a great helper, but the real value is in the whole tech stack and not only in this whole crypto blockchain thing. So that is an important distinction, I think. Also, if you reach out to clients, is to present something to them that is directly understandable and helpful. And if later on, they see that kind of under the hood, there's blockchain technology going on, that's not really an issue. But if you go in and directly tell them, yeah, there's this token and there's this and this and this, it's so complicated. It's rather better to keep this a bit separate from the initial pitch, I would say.
So now that we've unpacked some token mechanics, I suggest we shift gears to the underlying frameworks, baseline protocol, base ledger, and how these fit into the broader standardization landscape. First question is, what is the current strategic role of baseline protocol and base ledger within the broader SPO Unibright ecosystem?
I might perhaps answer the baseline part because I played a role there in the technical steering committee for 2 years. Let's try to be humble, but also be honest. I think it's now, with looking back some years, we can clearly state that as soon as Unibright got away a little bit from the baseline protocol on the official side, the whole movement around baseline went slower and slower. I think it was clearly seen that we had an impact, but we also didn't expect this impact being so big that as soon as we start to do a little bit less of the work, then everything gets slower and slower. The current state of baseline is, from a standard position or view, is that it's not active anymore. But nevertheless, the items and ideas and also part of the standards that were tried to establish are still there, and they were a big foundation, or the main foundation for us to build first Base Ledger and then Unibright 1. We can talk a lot about why this standard body didn't succeed in the end. I think it has to do with people. It has also to do with motivation of people, if they're more interested in really bringing things forward, or if they're perhaps malicious actors that have different things in mind. We won't get too much into detail, but we all learned our lesson here. For us, it is important that all of the tech and the ideas that we brought into Baseline, they are totally on our tech stack, so we can use them however we want. We can use all the networking we made there. We can use Base Ledger, but don't have to, because our technology and our concepts also work blockchain agnostic. So from a history standpoint, I think Baseline was just the foundation for us to build technology like Base Ledger and Unibright 1. And I already can do a little bit of a preview that, of course, this technology will play a vital part in the platform and the technologies that we will be presenting in the near future, because we don't throw tech away that we built. We more try to integrate and unify the experience and the work done so far.
Hard to add anything. I mean, that's a great sum up. And I like to see the baseline thing as something that it just came to a great ending. One can see it as well, like it was something very positive, because for Unibright it came to us building Base Ledger and Unibright 1 afterward, as Stefan said. So perhaps the baseline thing was done when it was done, because all these companies, and even the big companies like EY and Consensus and Microsoft, were there. We all stuck our heads together and thought about what to build to come up with a blockchain-based solution to enable trust and proofs. And we came up with 2 great products, which are still used and underpinned by UBT. So I think it was a great outcome for us, although, as Stefan mentioned, there was some trouble inside, but it was good in the end.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, I think looking back, if there was one mistake that perhaps was a little bit of a bad mistake for the protocol itself, was to exclude tokens or utility tokens from the discussion from the very beginning. So, of course, for Unibright, it was hard to not mention like a great token system that we built, but we somehow got along and focused more on the technical side. But as Pierre mentioned before, the token is not just a fancy add-on. It's a vital thing to have a working utility token ecosystem underneath a distributed platform. If you don't have it, you will never be able to explain the value of that distributed network if it's just a centralized one server solution that some of the big players host. Then we are just as good as using a big cloud platform today. So this was a little bit hard and a little bit, I think, some kind of mistake that the token discussion was put down very strictly from the very beginning. I think we made the best out of it because we developed great tech and were able to take our ideas also into products. But the future will be way easier for us to do it because now we don't have to excuse anymore that there's a token ecosystem. No, it actually makes sense, especially if you talk about digital assets. Then everything should be in the digital world. As Marten said, it could be fully automated. So now we're at a better spot and take everything that happened with Baseline as great experience and groundwork for the solutions we're building.
Are there any active partners or production grade cases today? And then what does the outlook for 2026 and beyond look like to you?
Well, I can say that we are one of the first customers, of course. I mean, on our side, like I already said, we're looking at things from a creator's perspective, and a whole company is built around digital content. And as soon as you reach a critical mass of content, you need to start to be very precise and manage it and make sure that you know where the rights are. Otherwise, you completely lose control. By kind of structuring that content and using tech that comes from SPO Consulting, we're in a much better place now to scale, and that is the most important thing. So we really see over the last 1.5 to 2 years, we saw that there's a certain ceiling we can reach on some businesses we do because we can't scale it. And that is based on us not having the right solutions to administer even more content and be totally sure that everything is tamper-proof and that there's no mistakes and that everything can be also, look back in time to see where do the rights come from, how's the provenance and all this. So this is good for us. I wouldn't say we're not a billion-dollar company, so we're not one of the big guys, but we do have a real business, and the scalability of our services is relying on what SPO Consulting is now building for us and with us. And once we have that, it will be just a great, I would say, not even a proof of concept. It will be the first kind of guinea pig to show that it works in real life, and from then on, we can expand.
Yeah, I mean, the whole question about customers, it's an old one, and it's a valid one. I was thinking about the problem is with all the customers, we have, of course, contracts and NDAs in place. So most of them just don't want their names to be dropped. And that's something that perhaps Pierre was talking about. The space is somewhat still in a way that not everyone wants to have their name out. And when I look back, those companies, like, I don't know, the European Investment Fund or even Lufthansa or what we had, if they wanted their name out, then they wanted their name out to have their name connected to their technology. And this is obviously something different from just having customers that want to use the tech. And those, I have to say, don't want to be named, although they are there. And especially with Unibright One, we see a lot of usage. Most of it is fiat based, but it's a lot of usage, and Base Ledger itself evolved further as well. It's mostly and oftentimes used now more in a way where companies build their own chain with a few nodes. So there's this more or less containerized usage. There's a lot going on, but it's hard for us to drop names like this. And yeah, I'm tempted to, but it's just would fire back, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also a fact that we made ourselves very, very rare in the communication during the last year. I mean, that's one reason why we wanted to start this AMA format in a regular manner. So to have more communication out when it comes to clients and POC projects in the past, as Marten said, it was always like the innovation management team of these big companies, and those are not necessarily connected to the productive team. So many of the projects we did reach their goal in the eye of the customer once we showed them that it works, because then the innovation manager had something to show and something to talk about. But that doesn't necessarily mean that another part of a bigger company where they actually look on numbers and just post the question like, how much cheaper does everything get? And you don't have an answer there because it's just innovation, so to say. So this is this was the thing in the past, and now it's the other way around. It's more that we focus on, or clients also ask for a problem to be solved. And if blockchain is a part of that problem, I think they're fine with that. But their intent is not to spread the word about how great one specific technology is. I mean, they have other things to do. But I think our new ideas and also the products we're working on are better placed to just work, and to work in a world where it's about digital assets and platforms bringing that together and using the advantages of a distributed network. And as soon as we get this in place, I think it will not be so important if there's a new client every week or every 2 weeks or a big name. Of course, it would help, and we're always trying to motivate customers to also talk about the relationship and the joint ventures that we do. But if not, and just the products work and the utility token is used underneath, we would be equally as happy, I guess.
And if I look at our, I would say, setup of clients, once we start using this whole tech stack, then automatically a lot of very big media companies, first off, and then later on others, will be in touch with it and will independently, or not independently, will indirectly use it or use it through our system. In a way, it's a bit like them using SAP or Salesforce or Oracle. It's just a part of their workflow, but they would not go out and say, hey, we're now using the new SPO Consulting ABC tech stack. They're basically just saying we're working together with Audiogroup and perhaps SPO Consulting. That's something we can, of course, then simply announce, which is easy, but they are not the evangelists of this whole system, of course, because for them, it's just they pay for a service, they get a good service, they get solutions for stuff that haven't been solved in such a good manner before, but that's it. They don't have really an incentive to go out and tell everybody about the UBT token in a way.
I think the word evangelist, I mean, we met a lot of evangelists at the bigger companies during the last years, and of course they help to spread the word and getting out the message that with you have a company that can do all the tech stuff and also deliver on levels where perhaps only comparable, way bigger consulting companies would have been able to deliver studies or POCs. I mean, we're still proud of that, and we can be. But if I could choose, I think that the next level for Unibright that is now placed within a consulting group is more to get traction and real usage of the platforms and the technology we offer. I would always pick that over an evangelist disconnected from the rest of his company saying nice things. If we can manage both, we will surely take it, and we also count on the community to spread the word then. But it shouldn't be like the first and only focus for us.
Yeah. But I guess that's super important what both of you said. I mean, and that's the great learning from the last 8 years, being totally humble and honest. I mean, when we started, everyone, not only Unibright, the whole space was about getting everything on blockchain, all the data, all the processes. There was such a hype, which obviously was false. Especially enterprise customers will only use a solution when they are incentivized to do so, as we said, by, for example, cutting their costs or being able to conquer new markets, or what we see now, and I guess that's the most important driver, if you have regulatory demand, legal framework that demand a new solution, which might as well be blockchain-based as we see it. And this driver, the regulatory frameworks, we've seen before the blockchain thing. I mean, we are working in the IT space for some decades, and we've seen this before. This seems to be the strongest driver for businesses looking at new solutions when they are forced to because of legal or changes.
And if I'm going a bit away from the being humble, sorry, basically I think to cut it short, we're not trying to build a crypto or blockchain unicorn. We're trying to build a tech unicorn that uses blockchain. And I think that's the much more realistic and, again, down-to-earth approach, because we want to build a company that will solve real problems and have great technology. And it's kind of coincident that it also uses blockchain, and of course it will be an integral part, but it's not about this whole hype and, just pretending to have something that is super high value only because it's blockchain. That's the kind of, I wouldn't say scam, but the kind of overhype that we saw in the past. And we definitely don't want to do that. We want to do something real, and blockchain will help us. And we're happy to have the token and everything already installed, because like Stefan, Marten already said, it's super legit. It has a great history. It has a great track record. But we're not doing it for the sake of crypto.
No, but talking about hypes, I mean, we're looking at AI as well, which obviously might be hyped a bit, and all the things about how do you train systems, or how do you come up with systems that do generative AI. How can you prove what happened there, what data has been used, how it has been used? How can you come up with an idea of pay out royalties, or get a better feeling of what these systems are doing? This is something that's on our mind as well, I guess.
Yes, and from the technology side of things, I think it's still somehow valid that we are thinking in platforms. So what changed perhaps with that SPO setup is that the platform itself is the more interesting thing for companies, because they want to, if we talk about digital assets, they somehow have to be managed, or royalties have to be paid out, or licenses have to be granted or withdrawn. So that's, first of all, a platform thing. You don't need blockchain for that part. But if you want to make things quicker and explain why somebody can cut the cost, or be faster in processing, or be more reliable than his competitor, then blockchain is a part of that tech stack. I think we've been telling this story a lot in the last 8 years, but in crypto terms, a company that started with business integration and still has that focus to bring blockchain as a technology into digital networks or platforms. I mean, 8 years is a super long time. We have seen many other companies and competitors that started after us and already were gone after 2 years. So we are also proud of that. And also proud that we have a very good feeling to bring this whole structure to a new level now, where we do not have to do everything on our own, like Marten and me, but rather be part of a bigger group, of a consulting group, being connected directly to the Audiogroup that deals with digital assets like on a daily basis. So the groundwork done just resulted in something that's way bigger. We needed a little bit time for that. That's why we also didn't focus so much on communication, which changes now. But I think the future looks very Unibright.
So we've talked a lot about context and systems and frameworks. Let's bring it back to the human side. I'd like to touch on the people behind these efforts, your ongoing collaborations, and personal perspectives on where things are headed. Pierre, this one's for you. Is this your first hands-on experience working in a blockchain or a crypto project?
Well, I would say yes and no. Rather no. So a few years back, when there was the first, or not the first, but the last big crypto hype, I'm not really expert there, but I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. A friend of mine started a token within the crypto ecosystem only. It was something about decentralized finance stuff. I can't even really recall or remember correctly, but there was the hype, and everybody in this bubble of friends invested quite some money. And very quickly there was the 5x or 10x growth. And I did all the mistakes that you could do. I didn't sell. I was too greedy. And in the end, the hype was over and 90% were lost. And it was interesting because it was not a scam or anything. It was just something that worked, a tech that worked, but it was only within a very small portion of the crypto space. It was not a real business. It was just, a business for a non-existing hype business. So, whenever the crypto bubble went down a bit again, there was the last crypto winter, I would say, this whole token went down even more badly than the others because it was only based on the success and growth of the crypto ecosystem. So I learned my lesson in a way that I know that it's pretty easy and also pretty random to make a lot of money, but also very easy to lose all that money again. And I was fortunate enough, I would say, if I look back, I would say I was fortunate enough that I had one wallet that was hacked. So I also had this experience, and I wouldn't say that I'm a seasoned blockchain crypto guy right now, not at all. But, it's good to have had this, going up and down once, getting some experience, understanding what is not good about this whole thing, I would say, and then being able to focus on what the underlying real value is. And this is why, it took me 1 or 2 years to, I wouldn't say recover, but to say, okay, now I learned my lesson, I understand more how it works. And then this great opportunity came up with Marten and Steph. And I feel more secure now within this whole space because, I had my positive and negative experiences.
Yeah, that's a great story, Pierre. I mean, yeah, you experienced all the things that a retail investor might experience, and from project base, it sounds to me like this project perhaps might have set the token first, or too much focus on the token. Yeah, that's what we never did and won't do. I mean, we are looking for strong products that can be used, that have great potential, and of course we have the utility token, but it's not about token first. It's more on an equal basis.
So looking ahead, if today's event was sort of more context oriented, what could we expect for the next AMA?
Hopefully there will be some follow-up questions. I mean, we try to bundle the questions a little bit. There were also very detailed questions on one specific solution, for example. I don't think that this makes too much sense after a longer period of official communication from our side. So we will be very happy to receive follow-up questions on this one. We will also not only focus on this video format, but of course continue our perhaps a little bit more boring, educative blog posts. Of course, this is part of the Unibright history and will remain so. And apart from that, we are busy building the stuff that we want to present soon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea was for today to touch base, and then the next AMAs, it should more like funnel down, point to what we want to build in specific. And yeah, of course, it's having such great partners like the Audiogroup and other people. This should be one of the main things for this AMA, and then we can start working together and have this documented during the next AMAs.
I think that brings us to the end of today's event. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions and followed along, and of course to the team for taking the time to share this deeper context. As we mentioned, any unanswered questions will carry forward, and if you're leaving today with even more questions, then that's very much by design. Thank you, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.